Have you ever stopped to think about a honeybee hive? It's not just a home for bees, it's one of nature's most perfect, most complex societies. We're going to dive deep into this world, and trust me, it operates on a scale that is just mind-boggling. So, let's start with the central puzzle. Picture a city, right? A city with 50,000 citizens, all working together, all perfectly in sync. But there's no mayor, there's no boss, no one giving orders. So how on earth does it work? That's the big question we're going to tackle. But before we can even get to the hive itself, we've got to zoom out a little bit. We need to ask a more basic question that really applies to the entire animal kingdom. Why bother teaming up in the first place? Well, when you boil it all down, the reason is actually pretty simple. Social behavior, this idea of working together, it just works. It's a powerful evolutionary strategy that helps animals survive and pass on their genes. It's not really about friendship. It's about giving the whole group a serious competitive edge. And you see this advantage play out in all sorts of ways. When animals forage together, they're way more likely to find food. When predators like wolves hunt in a pack, they can take down prey that's way bigger than any single one of them could handle alone. And of course, there's safety in numbers. It's a lot harder for a predator to pick you off in a crowd. Even just traveling is easier in a group. In the brutal game of survival, teamwork is a total game changer. Okay, so lots of animals are social. But some species, well, they've taken this whole teamwork thing to an unbelievable extreme. And for that, we have to look to the insects. Biologists actually have a special name for this highest, most intense level of social life. It's called eusociality, and that literally means true society. And let me tell you, insects like ants, termites, and of course our honeybees, they are the absolute masters of it. So, what does it take to qualify as a true society? It really comes down to these three key ingredients. First, you've got this intense, selfless cooperation where everyone works for the good of the colony. Second, there's a clear division of labor. Not everybody does the same thing. They have specialized jobs. And third, the generations overlap. That means you have mothers, daughters, and granddaughters all living and working together at the same time. All right, now that we have the rules of the game, we can finally zoom in on our star player, the honeybee hive. It's just a perfect living example of eusociality in action. And the first thing you have to wrap your head around is just the sheer scale we're talking about here. A single healthy honeybee colony can have over 50,000 individuals living inside. That's bigger than a lot of small towns, all packed into one coordinated unit. But here's the real mindbender. This bustling city isn't just a collection of strangers. It's one giant family. Almost every single bee in that entire hive is a daughter, born from the very same mother, the queen. So how do you possibly organize a family that big? Well, you do it with almost military precision through what's known as a caste system. Every single bee has a specific job, a role that it was literally born to do. So inside any hive, you're going to find three distinct types or castes of bees. You've got the one large queen, you have thousands of smaller worker bees, and then you have these stout, kind of big-eyed drones. Each one is built differently because each one has a totally different job. Okay, let's break this down because this part is fascinating. Both the queen and all the workers are female, and they both come from fertilized eggs, but their jobs couldn't be more different. The queen does one thing and one thing only, reproduction. The workers, they do everything else. Build the comb, find food, defend the hive, you name it. The drones, on the other hand, are all male. They come from unfertilized eggs, and they also have just one job, to find and mate with a new queen. And when I say the queen's job is reproduction, I am not exaggerating. Get this, a single healthy queen bee can lay between 1,000 and 2,000 eggs every single day. She is a non-stop egg-laying machine, constantly fueling the colony's enormous population. So that brings up a really interesting question, right? If the workers and the queen are both female, and they both come from the same kind of fertilized egg, how does one end up as royalty while all her sisters become workers? Well, the answer comes down to what they eat. The very first fork in the road is genetic. If the queen decides to fertilize an egg as she lays it, that egg will develop into a female. If she lays an egg without fertilizing it, it develops into a male, a drone. It's a wild process called parthenogenesis. But for all those female larvae, here's where it gets crazy. The deciding factor isn't genetics, it's diet.
If a larva is fed a pretty standard diet, it develops into a normal worker bee. But if you take that exact same kind of larva and feed it a super rich, special diet, it transforms, developing into a brand new queen.
And that special food, that queen maker, is called royal jelly. It's this super high-protein goo that the worker bees secrete from glands in their heads. And this stuff is like magic. It completely changes the bee's development, triggering the growth of her unique anatomy, especially her massive reproductive system. In the world of the hive, diet truly is destiny. Now, about a week after a new queen is born, she has to embark on this incredibly dramatic and frankly very dangerous journey. It's called the nuptial flight. She flies way up into the sky to mate with a whole bunch of drones from other colonies. The drones die right after mating, and the queen flies back to her hive. She now has enough sperm stored up to fertilize eggs for the rest of her life, which could be years.